would make a task as simple as filling out a standardized test or an application difficult. The only options I were given were black, white, Asian, Pacific Islander, and other. Other? I was an other. I was mixed.
It was really confusing for me the first time taking the Connecticut Mastery Test. They had already filled out all of our information, and for my race, they had marked down black. And I was confused because I looked at my skin and I was like, well, I'm not black. And then I was like, well, I wouldn't put down white. There was like no box for other. And I didn't really have a choice in the matter. It's just not how I identify myself, and like they're doing that for statistics and people are free to abstain, so it's just what I do at this point.
I always start with the same thing I'm always asked: who's black, your mom or your dad? And I answer, my dad's black, my mom's white. And people are like, oh, that makes sense. So apparently that makes sense to people.
I would meet new people, and within the first 5 minutes they would ask me, so what are you? You know, is your dad black? Is your mom white? I don't understand why that matters. You know, I don't even know if I like you yet. So why do you have to know everything about my family? It's personal.
People will walk up to me on the street and be like, not to be rude, but what are you? And I'll be like, I'm human. What are you? Like, I choose not to identify myself by my race. My mom is black, my dad is white, but I'm not black or white. Like,
I lived in this really small town called Plain Valley, Missouri. And my dad was actually the first black mayor, and it was a 90% white town. Later on, my mom opened up about some things that had happened that she kept from us. Like, because my dad was black and my mom was white, and a lot of people didn't like that. My mom mentioned we actually got bullets in the mail, and she kept it from us because, you know, she didn't want to scare us.
You know, sometimes people would ask me in middle school, so what side do you prefer? Black or white? You know, your black family or your white family?
When my parents split, my dad moved out west. His job would take him into California, so we'd drive from Arizona into California. So we'd have to stop at Border Patrol. And there was this one time that I can't forget. I was probably about 6 or 7. I noticed right away that this was just kind of a weird encounter because the officer looked into our car, he looked back and forth between my father and I, back and forth again. And he didn't ask about citizenship, he asked, who's that in the passenger seat? Me. My father, who is black, says, that's my daughter. The cop kind of looks back and forth again, like he's just completely perplexed. But the officer looks down at me and he says, young lady. I said, yes, sir. He said, where's your father? And I looked at my father in the driver's seat right next to me and I said, sir, he's right here. That's my father.
When I was little, my dad was a fisherman and went to sea a lot. So my mom and I spent a lot of time together, like months at a time. And she got invited to adoption groups multiple times. It's a weird thing, not looking very much like my sister. We have this thing where we have it down pat now. And people always are like, you're so beautiful but different. And I'm like, yeah, well, I look like our dad, and she finishes with, and I look like our mom.
People in public would ask my mom about me, and you know, they would just come up and say, oh, your daughter's so beautiful. She looks nothing like you. And I know this really offended my mom. You know,
I don't know, I feel like the only time I've ever felt that out of place is usually like family gatherings, just because my dad and I are like the only people of color to be seen anywhere.
I would, want to play with all my cousins, and like most of them were white. And it never really bothered me when I was really, really young, but then I kind of got older and started noticing that I was a little different.
I do kind of feel like Sometimes I don't fit in because, I mean, people will try to make things black or white, you know? And if you don't dress black or something, then you're not representing your black culture. Or if you don't dress white, then you don't fit in. Or
I feel my sister gets it a little worse. Only because she looks outwardly very white. Like, if you look closely, you can see she has features of somebody who's African American, but her skin and hair just throws everyone off completely. I remember this happened just this last year. She won an award and a sizable scholarship for being in the 2% scoring and like standardized testing for African American students, specifically females. And she got recognized at an assembly at our school. And they called up the girls at one, and she walked up on the stage with the 2 other girls. Somebody in the audience just started laughing until pretty soon most of the people in the audience were laughing. Like, she kind of shrugged it off and like she got it, like she looked out of place up there, but she got to her next class with one of the nuns at school, and the nun like took her out in the hallway and was just like, I cannot believe they did that to you. My sister like finally realized how messed up that was and just started crying in the hallway. She told me that and it just broke my heart, because like I don't really think about how it affects her differently than me. That like you can see it on my skin that I'm something else, but not on her. I think what needs to change is how we think about being mixed race. Like, I say I'm black and white, and you know, you get the usual like, well, you don't act black or you don't look white. But I'm both things. I'm not, I shouldn't have to choose between those things. I should identify both ways, in my opinion. I feel like I should be able to say I'm black and I'm white